Sir, my concern is not whether God is on our side. My greatest concern is to be on God's side, for God is always right. You cannot escape the responsibility of tomorrow by evading it today. Be sure you put your feet in the right place, then stand firm. Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. Most folks are as happy as they make up their minds to be. All that I am, or hope to be, I owe to my angel mother. No man has a good enough memory to be a successful liar. It has been my experience that folks who have no vices have very few virtues. I am not bound to win, but I am bound to be true. I am not bound to succeed, but I am bound to live by the light that I have. I must stand with anybody that stands right, and stand with him while he is right, and part with him when he goes wrong. You can fool all the people some of the time and some of the people all the time, but you cannot fool all the people all the time. I will prepare, and someday my chance will come. We, the people, are the rightful masters of both Congress and the courts, not to overthrow the Constitution, but to overthrow the men who pervert the Constitution. Character is like a tree, and reputation like a shadow. The shadow is what we think of it. The tree is the real thing. I am a slow walker, but I never walk back. I don't like that man. I must get to know him better. The ballot is stronger than the bullet. The philosophy of the schoolroom in one generation will be the philosophy of government in the next. Don't worry when you're not recognized, but strive to be worthy of recognition. How many legs does a dog have if you call his tail a leg? 4. Saying that a tail is a leg doesn't make it a leg. Always bear in mind that your own resolution to succeed is more important than any other. My great concern is not whether you have failed, but whether you are content with your failure. My dream is of a place and a time where America will once again be seen as the last best hope of Earth. Labor is prior to and independent of capital. Capital is only the fruit of labor, and could never have existed if labor had not first existed. Labor is the superior of capital, and deserves much the higher consideration. If this is coffee, please bring me some tea, but if this is tea, please bring me some coffee. When I do good, I feel good. When I do bad, I feel bad, and that's my religion. I am a firm believer in the people. If given the truth, they can be depended upon to meet any national crisis. The great point is to bring them the real facts. I like to see a man proud of the place in which he lives. I like to see a man live so that his place will be proud of him. This country, with its institutions, belongs to the people who inhabit it. Whenever they shall grow weary of the existing government, they can exercise their constitutional right of amending it, or exercise their revolutionary right to overthrow it. Government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. Those who deny freedom to others deserve it not for themselves, and under the rule of a just God cannot long retain it. Do I not destroy my enemies when I make them my friends? I do the very best I know how, the very best I can, and I mean to keep on doing so until the end. I have always found that mercy bears richer fruits than strict justice. The shepherd drives the wolf from the sheep's throat, for which the sheep thanks the shepherd as his liberator, while the wolf denounces him for the same act as the destroyer of liberty. Plainly, the sheep and the wolf are not agreed upon a definition of liberty. A house divided against itself cannot stand. Marriage is neither heaven nor hell. It is simply purgatory. He has a right to criticize who has a heart to help. The best way to get a bad law repealed is to enforce it strictly. Stand with anybody that stands right, stand with him while he is right, and part with him when he goes wrong. Every man is said to have his peculiar ambition. Whether it be true or not, I can say for one that I have no other so great as that of being truly esteemed of my fellow men by rendering myself worthy of their esteem. How far I shall succeed in gratifying this ambition is yet to be developed. As I would not be a slave, so I would not be a master. This expresses my idea of democracy. I remember my mother's prayers, and they have always followed me. They have clung to me all my life. At what point, then, is the approach of danger to be expected? I answer. If it ever reach us, it must spring up amongst us. It cannot come from abroad. If destruction be our lot, we must ourselves be its author and finisher. As a nation of freemen, we must live through all time, or die by suicide. A friend is one who has the same enemies as you have. The probability that we may fail in the struggle ought not to deter us from the probability that we may fail in the struggle ought not to deter us from the support of a cause we believe to be just. No matter how much cats fight, there always seem to be plenty of kittens. You have to do your own growing, no matter how tall your grandfather was. Surely God would not have created such a being as man with an ability to grasp the infinite, to exist only for a day. No, man was made for immortality. I do not think much of a man who is not wiser today than he was yesterday. We should be too big to take offense and too noble to give it. The things I want to know are in books. My best friend is the man who'll get me a book I ain't read. Let not him who's houseless pull down the house of another, but let him work diligently and build one for himself, thus by example assuring that his own shall be safe from violence when built. Avoid popularity if you would have peace. Any people anywhere, being inclined and having the power, have the right to rise up and shake off the existing government and form a new one that suits them better. This is a most valuable, a most sacred right, a right which we hope and believe is to liberate the world. The leading rule for the lawyer, as for the man of every calling, is diligence. Gold is good in its place, but loving, brave, patriotic men are better than gold. Whenever I hear anyone arguing for slavery, I feel a strong impulse to see it tried on him personally. All the armies of Europe, Asia, and Africa combined, with all the treasure of the earth, our own excepted, in their military chest, with a Bonaparte for a commander, could not by force take a drink from the Ohio or make a track on the Blue Ridge in a trial of 1,000 years. If I were two-faced, would I be wearing this one? What kills a skunk is the publicity it gives itself. With malice toward none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right, as God gives us to see the right, let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds. When I hear a man preach, I like to see him act as if he were fighting bees. That some achieve great success is proof to all that others can achieve it as well. Never regret what you don't write. Fellow citizens, we cannot escape history. We of this Congress and this administration will be remembered in spite of ourselves. No personal significance or insignificance can spare one or another of us. The fiery trial through which we pass will light us down in honor or dishonor to the latest generation. I care not much for a man's religion whose dog and cat are not the better for it. When you have got an elephant by the hind legs and he is trying to run away, it's best to let him run. If we could first know where we are and whither we are tending, we could then better judge what to do and how to do it. If once you forfeit the confidence of your fellow citizens, you can never regain their respect and esteem. Important principles may and must be inflexible. True patriotism is better than the wrong kind of piety. Standing as I do, with my hand upon this staff and under the folds of the American flag, I ask you to stand by me so long as I stand by it. Discourage litigation. Persuade your neighbors to compromise whenever you can. As a peacemaker, the lawyer has superior opportunity of being a good man. There will still be business enough. I want it said of me by those who knew me best that I always plucked a thistle and planted a flower where I thought a flower would grow. Knavery and flattery are blood relations. I never had a policy. I have just tried to do my very best each and every day. With the fearful strain that is on me night and day, if I did not laugh, I should die. No man is good enough to govern another man without the other's consent. I don't know who my grandfather was. I'm much more concerned to know what his grandson will be. The highest art is always the most religious, and the greatest artist is always a devout person. Everybody likes a compliment. Slavery is founded in the selfishness of man's nature. Opposition to it is his love of justice. These principles are an eternal antagonism, and when brought into collision so fiercely as slavery extension brings them, shocks and throes and convulsions must ceaselessly follow. I desire so to conduct the affairs of this administration that if at the end I have lost every other friend on earth, I shall at least have one friend left, and that friend shall be down inside of me. If there is anything that a man can do well, I say let him do it. Give him a chance. There is no grievance that is a fit object of redress by mob law. Ballots are the rightful and peaceful successors to bullets. Let reverence for the laws be breathed by every American mother to the lisping babe that prattles on her lap. Let it be taught in schools, in seminaries, and in colleges. Let it be written in primers, spelling books, and in almanacs. Let it be preached from the pulpit, proclaimed in legislative halls, and enforced in courts of justice. In giving freedom to the slave, we assure freedom to the free, honorable alike in that we give and what we preserve. We shall nobly save or meanly lose the last best hope of earth. The dogmas of the quiet past are inadequate to the stormy present. The occasion is piled high with difficulty, and we must rise with the occasion. As our case is new, so we must think anew and act anew. Towering genius disdains a beaten path. It seeks regions hitherto unexplored. I know that the Lord is always on the side of the right, but it is my constant anxiety and prayer that I and this nation may be on the Lord's side. I hold that while man exists, it is his duty to improve not only his own condition, but to assist in ameliorating mankind. These capitalists generally act harmoniously and in concert to fleece the people. And now that they have got into a quarrel with themselves, we are called upon to appropriate the people's money to settle the quarrel. Tact is the ability to describe others as they see themselves. A living dog is better than a dead lion. Judge Douglas, if not a dead lion for this work, is at least a caged and toothless one. How can he oppose the advances of slavery? He don't care anything about it. Allow the president to invade a neighboring nation whenever he shall deem it necessary to repel an invasion, and you allow him to do so whenever he may choose to say he deems it necessary for such purpose. And you allow him to make war at pleasure. Public sentiment is everything. With public sentiment, nothing can fail. Without it, nothing can succeed. These men ask for just the same thing, fairness, and fairness only. This, so far as in my power, they and all others shall have. It was that which gave promise that in due time the weights should be lifted from the shoulders of all men, and that all should have an equal chance. This is the sentiment embodied in that Declaration of Independence. I am humble Abraham Lincoln. I have been solicited by my friends to become a candidate for the legislature. My politics are short and sweet, like the old woman's dance. I can make more generals, but horses cost money. I should like to know if taking this old Declaration of Independence, which declares that all men are equal upon principle, you begin making exceptions to it, where will you stop? If one man says it does not mean a Negro, why not another say it does not mean some other man? I pass my life in preventing the storm from blowing down the tent, and I drive in the pegs as fast as they are pulled up. Don't interfere with anything in the Constitution. That must be maintained, for it is the only safeguard of our liberties. It is not my nature, when I see a people borne down by the weight of their shackles, the oppression of tyranny, to make their life more bitter by heaping upon them greater burdens, but rather would I do all in my power to raise the yoke than to add anything that would tend to crush them. With public sentiment, nothing can fail. Without it, nothing can succeed. The people will save their government if the government itself will allow them. You may think it was a very little thing, and in these days it seems to me like a trifle, but it was a most important incident in my life. I could scarcely credit that I, the poor boy, had earned $1 in less than a day, that by honest work I had earned $1. I was a more hopeful and thoughtful boy from that time. We here highly resolved that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. Common-looking people are the best in the world. That is the reason the Lord makes so many of them. As our case is new, we must think and act anew. If ever I feel the soul within me elevate and expand to those dimensions not wholly unworthy of its almighty architect, it is when I contemplate the cause of my country, deserted by all the world beside, and I standing up boldly and lone and hurling defiance at her victorious oppressors. Whether slavery shall go into Nebraska or other new territories is not a matter of exclusive concern to the people who may go there. The whole nation is interested that the best use shall be made of these territories. We want them for the homes of free white people. If I were to try to read, much less answer all the attacks made on me, this shop might as well be closed for any other business. A woman is the only thing I am afraid of that I know will not hurt me. For my part, I desire to see the time when education, and by its means morality, sobriety, enterprise, and industry, shall become much more general than at present, and should be gratified to have it in my power to contribute something to the advancement of any measure which might have a tendency to accelerate the happy period. I go for all sharing the privileges of the government who assist in bearing its burdens. Consequently, I go for admitting all whites to the right of suffrage who pay taxes or bear arms, by no means excluding females. To give victory to the right, not bloody bullets, but peaceful ballots only, are necessary. When Southern people tell us they are no more responsible for the origin of slavery than we are, I acknowledge the fact. When it is said that the institution exists and that it is very difficult to get rid of it in any satisfactory way, I can understand and appreciate the saying. We find ourselves under the government of a system of political institutions, conducing more essentially to the ends of civil and religious liberty than any of which the history of former times tells us. I have great respect for the semicolon. It is a mighty handy little fellow. I hope to stand firm enough to not go backward and yet not go forward fast enough to wreck the country's cause. I go to assume a task more difficult than that which devolved upon Washington. Unless the great God who assisted him shall be with me and aid me, I must fail. But if the same omniscient mind and almighty arm that directed and protected him shall guide and support me, I shall not fail. I shall succeed. The mystic cords of memory, stretching from every battlefield and patriot grave to every living heart and hearthstone, all over this broad land, will yet swell the chorus of the Union when again touched, as surely they will be, by the angels of our nature. Let's have faith that right makes might, and in that faith let us to the end dare to do our duty as we understand it. When I am getting ready to reason with a man, I spend 1/3 of my time thinking about myself and what I am going to say, and 2/3 about him and what he is going to say. A man watches his pear tree day after day, impatient for the ripening of the fruit. Let him attempt to force the process, and he may spoil both fruit and tree. But let him patiently wait, and the ripe pear at length falls into his lap. Republicans are for both the man and the dollar, but in case of conflict, the man before the dollar. We can succeed only by concert. It is not, can any of us imagine better, but can we all do better? In great contests, each party claims to act in accordance with the will of God. Both may be, and one must be wrong. The people know their rights, and they are never slow to assert and maintain them when they are invaded. In my view of the present aspect of affairs, there is no need of bloodshed and war. There is no necessity for it. I am not in favor of such a course, and I may say in advance, there will be no bloodshed unless it be forced upon the government. The government will not use force unless force is used against it. I am rather inclined to silence. Our defense is in the preservation of the spirit, which prizes liberty as a heritage of all men in all lands everywhere. Destroy this spirit, and you have planted the seeds of despotism around your own doors. No policy that does not rest upon some philosophical public opinion can be permanently maintained. There is another old poet whose name I do not now remember who said, "Truth is the daughter of time." I understand a ship to be made for the carrying and preservation of the cargo, and so long as the ship can be saved with the cargo, it should never be abandoned. This union likewise should never be abandoned unless it fails, and the possibility of its preservation shall cease to exist. Without throwing passengers and cargo overboard, the people themselves, and not their servants, can safely reverse their own deliberate decisions. If the people of Utah shall peacefully form a state constitution tolerating polygamy, will the democracy admit them into the Union? Nothing new here except my marrying, which to me is a matter of profound wonder. If you think you can slander a woman into loving you or a man into voting for you, try it till you are satisfied. The legal right of the Southern people to reclaim their fugitives I have constantly admitted. The legal right of Congress to interfere with their institution in the states I have constantly denied. Hold on with a bulldog grip and chew and choke as much as possible. Illinois surpasses every other spot of equal extent upon the face of the globe in fertility of soil and in the proportionable amount of the same which is sufficiently level for actual cultivation,